Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. Last week, big words of Thiago Motta on Federico Chiesa. At the moment, he is a Juventus player. In the future, we will see. Well, that future is now. That future is today, on Monday, on the start of a new week. Because today, they will train back in La Continassa after an intense week of training in Herzogenaurach that didn't really end well with that 3-0 conceded by Nuremberg. Well, today they will be back in Italy, in La Continassa, resuming that training session part 3. And this time with Federico Chiesa. Like Tuttosport is writing today, Thiago, Chiesa, la resa dei conti. Today, the day of truth, because there will be a big face-to-face. What are the consequences? What will they say to each other? We will speak about that in today's video and much more. What an intense week, what a big week, a spectacular week for a lot of things. So put a maximum of like. If you didn't yet, please continue to subscribe and let me know your opinion. Do it because I'm really interesting. We will speak about diverse topics, so right. Maximum of like. Let's try to take the huge, beautiful habits that we took last week, more than 500, 600, maybe even reaching 1,000 likes. You know it's important for the channel to become bigger, and we need it to discover new Juventini of the world. So the planning of this week, it's over. It's over with le ferie, with the holidays of the players. It's over for all of them, not only for that mini weekend of rest where we saw, for example, Kefren Turam traveling to Nice, sitting next to Didier Deschamps to watch closely l'Équipe de France Olympique, but also for the other ones that were enjoying, well, week of arrivals. They will be back today, and then we are waiting, expecting today to land in Torino, the 3 Brazilian ones, Bremer, Danilo, and Douglas Luiz, the new one, and also Kenan Yildiz. Not only a week of arrivals, but also a week of presentations. We start tomorrow with l'Uomo di Gre, with Di Gregorio, and I'm really curious to understand why he has chosen Juventus, how he feels after these first weeks of Bianconero, or dressing in red and green. These were the colors that he were wearing during the training session and the first official friendly. So will there be other presentation this week? Kefren Turam, Douglas Luiz. We will discover them. A week of training, because we start again today. Game. And pay attention, because we end this week against Brest, but it can be a really important one, especially to understand the future. Pay attention to the squad list that we will probably receive on Friday when they will go to Pescara, because we play against that French team, but in Italy. Pay attention to the squad list that can tell us a lot about the future of a lot of players. And then, of course, Mercato, a week of Mercato where we are all expecting Todibo, and who knows, maybe also other players. They will tell me, Beppe, but you speak about Mercato, Todibo, extra players, more players, but you always repeated us sustainability, the keyword of Juventus, said by Scannavino, Giuntoli, Thiago Motta, and whoever is speaking for Juve or to represent Juve is telling us sustainability. So how can we still continue to do Mercato after spending for Douglas Luiz, Kefren Turam, Adzic, Di Gregorio, and even that surprise named Cabal? Can we do something, or will it be a limited remaining month of Mercato? Well, Juventus is actually doing an interesting Mercato, a really smart Mercato, because at the moment, not only we signed 5 new players, but we didn't spend €1. We even did well. We did better, because we are there in a positive of €10 million. How is that possible, you will tell me? Like, look at yesterday's table from Tuttosport, that was fantastic. At the moment, Juventus has spent to sign new players €112.7 million. But that money has been totally recuperated by the players that left Juventus, because we sold Barrenechea for 11, 1.5 for Felix Correa, 18 for Huijsen, 7.2 for Caio Jorge, etc. All of that without the possible percentage on the resale of the future, so we are in a total break-even, 0. But on top of that, you're watching that the salary mass increased by 18.6 million, while we reduced it by 28.7, gaining there €10.1 million in salary mass. And this is all without taking a single euro from the qualification to Champions League, for the money that we don't know yet how much it will be, but from that Club World Cup, we didn't touch it, for the Supercoppa qualification, for the budget that is a bit allocated for Mercato 24-25. So Juventus has still margins, still room to do some things. Will we do fantastic, spectacular things, well, it depends also on the sales that we will do, but you can see that you are doing beautiful things. Then you will tell me, Beppe, but look how many players we were obliged to sell. Look how much next-gen projects we were obliged to sacrifice to actually sign 5 players. And on that one, you're totally correct. But at the moment, all these players that you can see in the list were probably not part of the project. Then, of course, you are saving a lot of salary by not extending Alexandro, by not extending Adrien Rabiot. But at the moment, Juventus is doing a really beautiful work, and it gives us optimism, belief that that continuing of the Mercato can be beautiful, because we have 2 targets to go as soon as possible for, and to take them in bianconero. We are speaking about Todibo, that is expecting to join Juve in the 24-48 hours, and then the AAA objective, as I called him, Teun Koopmeiners. Of course, I told you, Mercato is crazy, Mercato is beautiful, Mercato is also painful. When yesterday we saw the scenes of Mattia Soulé leaving the airport to Torino to go to the one Fiumicino in Roma, and we saw these crazy scenes like Il Romanista is actually putting in their front page. It was craziness for Mattia Soulé. Yesterday, a lot of Romanisti were there celebrating as if they won the Champions League. Now, let me know what you think about that crazy celebration of fans and welcoming with a chance, going, touching Soulé, giving him scarf, etc., etc. Give me your opinion. According to me, I like these scenes. Of course, it's Roma, so I don't care about Roma, but I like when they are excessive, because that's Italy. I like. There is nothing to do. I would love to go for that. Of course, if you are asking me to choose between celebrating at the end of May with trophies or celebrating the arrival of a player, I prefer the trophies. But if we could combine both, I would not say no, absolutely. Mattia Soulé left, Huijsen left, and now there are the other ones that are in that queuing list. Like today, Rugani is celebrating his 30th birthday, probably his last birthday as a bianconero, because there are a few teams on him, and he's extremely interested in Bologna. Bologna is extremely interested in Daniele. It could be something that could happen, especially after the Hummels option from Bologna that has been put or in standby or totally collapsed. So pay attention to Daniele Rugani. That could leave, freeing up other salary, but also gaining a few million. That is 5, 6, 7, or 8. We don't know. We will monitor that situation. And then you have other players that can cash in a lot for Juve. Nicolosi Caviglia, where there is a real battle for the player. Venezia, Palermo, Cremonese, I think that there was also Como, etc., etc. Even Cagliari is on the young midfielder of Juventus Football Club. Do I think that he will leave? Unfortunately, yes. But then on the other side, you can't start the championship Serie A with 15 midfielders, especially for the one that has talents and will not have any space with all the players that we signed in that crucial part of the field, and that we are still targeting other players like Koopmeiners. Other players that could possibly leave this week or next week, Weston McKennie, there is an opening to Fiorentina. Now, of course, it depends on the player, and that's always an important thing, depending on the player, because McKennie Aston Villa was a done deal, then the player retracted, and we had a problem there. Szczesny to Al Nassr was a done deal, then the player doubted, and we had a problem there. So it depends on the player, but McKennie could leave. Rugani, I already told you. Barbieri could leave to Venezia, so a lot of players could possibly leave Juventus this week. And then the big name that will probably not leave this week, but we're speaking about Federico Chiesa. Today I told you, face-to-face between Thiago Motta and Federico Chiesa. Well, what will they say? Well, Thiago Motta will tell him really easily, really briefly, really in a straight way, without trying to dribble, without honest. Look, we must find a solution. Federico, we must find a solution. I don't want any collision. We don't want any problem. We have 1 month to make it happen as soon as possible. Would be better for you, for us, for everyone. But you are not in my plans. This is what Juventus Football Club as management is thinking. This is what Thiago Motta is thinking for different reason. Contractual renewal. And we know it, if there was really the will from both parts, from Federico and from Juventus Football Club, to continue, and the agent, they would have already found an agreement, because we know that situation since long. We are on it since the month of January, and now we are a few days away from the month of August, and we still didn't see any agreement on the future. So contractual situation, tactical We know it. We spoke about it. Some of you, they don't want to admit it, but if you know really well the player and his skills, well, this is not what Thiago is requesting. Federico was already complaining with Max Allegri. With Thiago Motta could even be worse. So a lot of things are entering there why Chiesa is not in the plans of Juventus Football Club. The agent is already looking for alternative. We spoke about Roma that at the end went for Solé. So Roma is not an option anymore. Napoli is still thinking about it, and we'll come back on Napoli in a second. On the other side, they are looking for an alternative abroad, which would be the preferred option for Juventus. Why? Because abroad, you are able to cash in real money really fast. On the other side, well, Federico is also thinking about abroad because he wants a club that is playing maybe in a better league than Serie A, that is in a high elite league like the Premier League. And that's why Ramadani yesterday, 2 days ago, was in London to speak with diverse teams. Chelsea, Tottenham, don't forget about Manchester United. But there is a paradox there, because Federico always said, I want to play the Champions League. After 1 year where I didn't play that competition, I really want to play that competition. Well, the 3 clubs in London, in UK, in the Premier League, the ones that are possibly interested in Chiesa are not participating to the next Champions League. So pay attention to what the decision of Chiesa will be, and that's why at the moment I'm extremely worried for one thing, that we continue with that situation until the end of the Mercato, with Federico Chiesa not finding the team that he really wants to play to, refusing this offer, where at the end, because they need to find a solution, he will probably accept the beautiful Napoli of Antonio Conte, that loves the player, that wants him at Napoli, where at the moment he's waiting because he doesn't want to join a team without European competition. But at the end it could go not only him saying yes to Napoli, but also Juve saying yes to Napoli. Why? Because Juve, they know it really well. If you are not able to continue with Chiesa, you will lose him for free. And probably he will reinforce a big competitor. There are rumors about Inter for next year, and that's what Juventus really want to avoid, reinforcing for free a direct competitor. And that's why Juventus could possibly go for what Sport is speaking about since a few days, a swap, Raspadori, Federico Chiesa, so that you at least make a bit of profit on Chiesa, and at least you don't lose him for free, and you have a player instead. We'll monitor that. Now, this week will say a lot. What do we need to know about this week's training session and about the players that are not part of the project? Rugani, De Sciglio, McKennie, Arthur, maybe Kostic, maybe Chiesa. As Giuntoli said, they will not be out of Juventus. They will not be like last year, totally aside and not participating in nothing. If you watch the videos of Juventus today, you will see that Federico is there, regularly there. But apparently, what Juventus planned is physical preparation, aerobic preparation, technical preparation. All the players are training together. All of them. They're all part of Juventus. But then there is that last part, that tactical preparation, where you speak about tactics, where you speak about movements, about off the ball, on the ball, positioning, etc., where Juventus will really focus with the players that are part of the project, and the other ones they will train isolated. Will we know who these players are? We will not, because Juventus will be smart enough to not show you who is in, who's out. On the other side, and that's where I told you in the beginning of the video, pay attention to the game of Brest, because some players will not be called up for that friendly game on Saturday. A lot of players that were there in Germany will not be called up. A lot of players that were not there in Germany will not be called up, especially because you are gaining 4 new players, the 3 Brazilian ones and Kenan Yildiz. So you will need to make space. Will Rugani be called up or not? If he's not, it's clearly that he's not out of project. What about Chiesa? Will he be there or not? If he's not in the squad list, pay attention, because that will be a huge, big alarm. Pay attention to Friday when we will see that squad list. 3 players that will be there are Savona, Rui, and Adzic. Why am I mentioning you these 3 players? Because apparently from the next gen, so we are not speaking about Nicolussi, about Miretti, about Locatelli, about Vlahovic, we're speaking really about the next gen. These 3 players are the next gen players that impressed Thiago Motta the most in Germany. We were looking for some answers. That was one of the questions that we had. We have an answer. Savona, Rui, and Adzic. 3 players of Juventus that could possibly join Juventus now. Also, because right back position, left back position is where we are needing some players at the moment. And then that Adzic, that yes, some people will say he didn't perform at his max in his first 45 minutes. I saw some beautiful movements, but they are really believing it. And I can tell you, really fantastic kid. He has a will. He really wants to play to honor that shirt. Guys, pay attention to Adzic. In terms of efforts, not paired. And then we'll see also, maybe this week we will know if Yildiz will take the number 10 or not. One thing is sure, he will travel to to Pescara to play against Brest, like Douglas Luiz will also be there. L'asso della Juve, the ace of Juventus, most expensive signing from all Serie A. And then you need to continue, which will not happen this week, but the offensive wingers, that starts to be really a big push, a big question, a big worry for Juventini. They are saying, Beppe, Solé now left. If Chiesa is not part of the project, we need not one, but two offensive wingers. Well, there's still that name of Adeyemi. And the contacts with the entourage are continuing. They are aligned, they like each other, they love each other. But of course, at the moment, there is still no negotiation with Dortmund, which is the most important thing that is missing. Why Adeyemi? We already spoke about him a few days ago, but because there is a big love from Giuntoli to the player that started in the lockdown. So we are speaking about 2020, where Giuntoli really was attracted by him. He wanted to sign him when he was still at Leipzig. He wanted to sign him at Napoli. He didn't happen, but he never gave up on the player. There is also Aston Villa and West Ham, always the same teams. I'm from England, Aston Villa, West Ham, Aston Villa. 30-35, that's the request of Dortmund, realistic request, even if I read 45-50 million is out of proportion. That's the request for the player from Dortmund. Will it happen or not? I don't know, but we need some players. And if we can't, well, there are other players that are extremely interesting for Juve. This time we are not speaking about offensive winger, but about that vice Vlahovic role. That a lot of people are asking, Beppe, but Vlahovic alone is not enough. And you're correct. What about Milik? Well, he's also on the exit market. There are some players that are raising again, because it's not the first time that we are mentioning them here on the channel. We are speaking about Kalimwendo and Bayer. Not Bayern Munich, Bayer the player, Maximilian Bayer, and Kalimwendo for the vice Vlahovic role. Kalimwendo, Arnaud, who is he? Beppe, who are you speaking about? Never heard about him. Well, Kalimwendo plays at Stade Rennais, at Rennes, plays at Lens in the north of France. He's coming from Paris Saint-Germain, where he also made his debut with the first team, but before that played in the youth academy of Paris Saint-Germain. And who was his coach when he was at Paris Saint-Germain? Thiago Motta. He knows it really well. What did he say about him in 2020? He said, Arnaud is a hard worker, a very good player. In 2021, Spezia, that was coached by Thiago Motta, was already on the player, looking for him. And in November 2021, Kalimwendo said, with Thiago Motta, I took another dimension. He trusted me a lot, knowing that the season before his arrival, I didn't play much. He included me in the under-19 group. So these two, they have a special relation. Can he be the player? Let's see. Beautiful stats as well in Ligue 1. It's a player that is still young, 22, 178. A different player as Dusan Vlahovic, but a player that is really appreciated by Thiago Motta. And on the other side, you have another one that is a lot appreciated by especially the Bundesliga fans or the German Juventini that are saying, Beppe, go for Maximilian Bayer. Why? Because he's a fantastic player. 185, even younger because he's 21, player that is out of contract in 2027, so the value will be quite high, but a player that can play as a false 9, as a number 9, he can play on the left, he can play on the right. No, he's not a player that is really strong in physical duels, in aerial duels, but he's a player that he knows how to watch the player one-on-one, take the ball, dribbling, and he has a fantastic, beautiful right foot. That shot of Bayer is just fantastic. Last season, 33 games in Bundesliga, 16 goals and 3 assists. He's a player that is beautiful. And if Koopmeiners would fail, there is that player, Akliush, from Monaco, that just extended with Monaco, but there is still an opening, because that money that we are allocating for Koopmeiners, if really it's not possible, well, Juventus will have a lot of money to go for a vice, or no, a B plan for Koopmeiners, which I wish will not happen, because Koopmeiners should arrive at Juve, needs to arrive at Juve. But if not, Juventus is also looking at other possibilities, and Akliush could be a really important player for Juve. and Monaco would even be okay if Juventus is able to put some cash on the table. Ragazzi, that was it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. What a week. Prepare yourself. Let me know what you love the most, or what is the most interesting thing that you will follow this week in the Juve world. Grazie, forza, Juve.